I went to Arapahoe High School, and in my senior year, on December 13th, there was a school shooting.
I've been a teacher in the public schools. I know gun violence on campus in the public schools. It's increasing. It's terrible.
I knew 2 victims from the Parkland shooting, and I knew someone who knew someone from the Newtown shooting, and that really gives me anxiety, especially on a college campus. Since we're so public, I think anything could happen here. And I look at the locks on the doors sometimes, and there are no locks. So if there ever were to be an active harmer on campus, what would we do?
It was probably one of the scariest moments of my life, but it's something I'll always remember and something that gets to me every day. If I'll hear fireworks, I'll freak out sometimes because it sounds just like it, or if someone kicks a locker, even though we don't have lockers here on campus or something similar to it, it definitely gets to me a lot. I think gun violence in schools is a major problem and we need to speak about it more.
I don't think students feel extremely safe right now, just because of how often and how random these things occur. A school shooting like that can happen at any time. And I think that's what sets students, makes them scared the most.
So my relationship with guns is a little bit different than what most people's relationship is, because I grew up in a place where guns were really normal, and I have guns at my house, and I knew all my friends had guns, and it's just a very normal thing to have guns where I'm from. But with all of this stuff going on with shootings and gun violence, it's really hard for me to condone the lifestyle I grew up with, because guns can be so destructive and have such a detrimental impact on people.
The lethality of the weapons that are available now, and the ease with which people can get them, and the general irresponsibility of a segment of the population who not only own them but feel themselves to be threatened, has created a crisis.
I think gun control is a really important issue. I think it needs to be a bipartisan movement, and we need to put aside differences between other issues and protect kids in schools rather than the money being backed by the NRA.
The best metaphor that I've heard for it is that guns should be regulated in the same way that cars are. So just you need to, be pass a check and be licensed and stuff like that.
While I am a gun owner, I have 4 rifles, 3 rifles and a shotgun. I am also a person who believes that assault weapons like the AR-15 should not be available to the general public. And I find myself wondering when some nut will come here to the university and do what has become all too common in schools throughout the country.
It's clear that it's not just one problem. It's not just a mental health problem. It's clear that you don't have to just look at our gun violence problem to realize we have mental health problems in this country. But that's clearly a problem. The fact that people have such easy access to guns is clearly a problem. It's clearly a safety problem.
Number one that I worry about is the 1,000 college students who get depressed and shoot themselves. Number 2 I worry about is somebody who gets really mad and gets an automatic weapon and shoots a lot of people. So I think both are problems.
I think that media should all hold a no notoriety policy where they don't mention the name of the shooters, because that encourages copycats to do the same thing. And I think that's a big aspect about why people go into these situations where they want to shoot at their schools, because they think they'll be famous.
I think that whole walk up to your bully and be nice to him is probably not going to work. As you remember with the Parkland shooting, the shooter was a jerk. He was a really mean guy. Being friends with someone might not really help all that much. So I think to combat it, we need to talk more about, 1, mental health, and 2, stricter gun control laws.
I think people grow up seeing people shooting each other with guns and stuff, and it's just changed our mindset to be more tolerant and also more violent.
So I'm from Ireland, and we don't have any guns there at all, and we've never really had a problem that I've ever heard of with gun violence or shootings or anything like that.
You're talking to somebody who's been to 48 countries, okay? One of the least safe countries that I go to is the United States. and that's because of the way we treat guns.
I think it's a tragedy that this stuff happens. I think schools should always be a safe space for kids to go and not have to worry about stuff like this. It's just a shame that shootings like this happen.
I think our society should listen to the kids and know their fear and know the fact that it's not okay to have a gun in school.
I think generally speaking, students should feel secure that the likelihood of an active shooter coming to campus is fairly rare when you think about the number of schools there are across the country. And yes, they are high profile when those things happen, but realistically it's fairly rare that it will come to your location. That said, everybody needs to be prepared for what to do in that type of a situation, whether it's taking the active armor classes that we teach here where we teach you how to react, or doing some online training. Just be prepared and know your surroundings at all times.